I figured it'd feel strange, her coming back to Santa Fe, New Mexico, like the years apart would hang heavy between us. But when Clara stepped through the door, her scent of sunscreen and old perfume flooding the room, it was like time hadn't touched us. She belonged here, same as ever. Then I caught the way Ray looked at her, his eyes lingering like a man staring into a fire he can't resist. And I knew something was about to break. None of us were ready, but we wanted it anyway. Clara kicked off her shoes in the hall, like she'd never left, like the house was still hers to claim. I hadn't seen her in nearly 3 years, but it took her 5 minutes to own the room. Her laugh cutting through the air like a blade. She dropped her bag on the chair, wrapped me in a hug, her warmth pressing against me, heavy with memory, and cupped my face. "God, I missed you," she said, her voice low, like a secret we both knew. We cracked open a bottle of wine before touching her luggage. Ray, my husband, joined us, half out of courtesy, half because he couldn't look away, his eyes tracing her like she was a puzzle he'd never solved. I could tell he missed her stories, her chaos, her charm, but he hadn't pictured her here. Not like this. Not filling our house with a heat we couldn't ignore. She settled in fast, curling up at dinner, teasing Ray, her words sharp, playful, like she was testing how close she could get. She joked about how dull we'd gotten, her laugh a spark that lit something dangerous in the air. I laughed too, but I watched, my chest tightening with every smile she pulled from him, something foreign and sharp twisting inside me. After dinner, she grabbed the sponge before I could, her movements quick, like she was staking a claim. "You cooked," she said. Ray poured the wine. "Means I clean." That's how she was bold. Sure, too comfortable in our lives, like she'd slipped into our skin while washing dishes. She glanced at Ray over her shoulder. "She ever let you rest, or you do all the work here?" Her voice was light, but it carried an edge, like a blade wrapped in silk. I froze. Ray chuckled, awkward, his eyes flickering with something I didn't want to name. I smiled too wide, but my pulse was racing, betraying me. It wasn't teasing anymore. It was a challenge, and we all felt it. Later, I handed her one of my robes after her shower, the soft one I saved for lazy Sundays. She slipped it on right there in the doorway, the fabric clinging to her damp skin, loose but deliberate, like she knew exactly what she was doing. When she walked into the living room, hair wet, still warm from the water, the air shifted, thick with something unspoken. Ray's eyes followed her, hungry, unguarded, like he'd forgotten I was there. He didn't speak, neither did I. But the silence was loud, screaming with what we wouldn't say. We sat together a while longer, the wine softening the edges, blurring the line between want and regret. Then Clara asked, "Same as always, get reckless, pile into one bed like old times." Her voice was casual, but her eyes weren't daring us to cross a line. I laughed. Ray did too, but his laugh was tight, like he was already falling. I said, "Sure." And just like that, we were in too deep. The lights went out, but none of us slept. I lay on my side, facing the window, eyes wide, the dark pressing against me like a warning. Behind me, their breathing filled the room, raised slower than usual. Clara's even slower, like they were both holding back, waiting for the other to break. The bed felt smaller than ever, every inch between us charged, electric, like a storm about to burst. My skin prickled under the sheets, alive with something I couldn't name: fear, desire, maybe both. Nobody spoke since the lights went out, but the shift was there. Not in the air, not in the room, but in Ray. A small adjustment, barely a move, but enough to tell me he wasn't just lying there. Then the blanket rustled, soft, careful, followed by a silence so sharp it felt planned. That's when I knew Clara reached for him. He didn't pull back. He didn't speak. He just let out a breath I'd never heard before. Low, heavy, like a confession. I didn't turn. I didn't need to. She touched him, and he let her, and the weight of it settled over me like a shadow. What hit me wasn't that it happened. It was how easy it was to let it. I lay there, facing the wall, my heart pounding, the air behind me thick, warm, alive. Clara's voice came, soft, steady, in control, like she'd always known this moment was hers. Ray was between us, but I felt him turn toward me, not his body, but his attention, his breath shifting, cautious, like he was reaching for something he couldn't hold. Then I felt it, his hand searching for mine under the blanket. His fingers brushed me, and for a second, I froze, caught between pulling away and giving in, but I didn't let go. He held on, loose, silent, like he was anchoring himself to me in the dark. I stared into the shadows, letting the moment stretch, heavy with what we weren't saying. He faced her, but he didn't let me go. Something flared in me, not a snap, not a break, just a shift, like I'd stepped into the fire instead of watching it burn. I wasn't outside this anymore. I wasn't a witness. I was part of it, and it felt like a sin I'd been waiting to commit. Ray didn't ask permission. He kept his hold on me, and whatever happened next, he wanted me there, tangled in it. I didn't turn to them, but I didn't turn away. I lay there, eyes open, the dark alive with our choices. The room went quiet again, but it wasn't empty, it was heavy, like we were all waiting for a permission nobody wanted to ask for. The blanket moved again, deliberate this time. Ray stayed on his back. Clara inched closer, slow, steady, her presence a heat I could feel through the sheets. Her knee shifted under the blanket, her arm resting near him, deliberate, like she was claiming him piece by piece. I didn't need to see to know something had changed. She moved with an ease that said she'd been here before, like she owned the space between us. Ray's breath slowed, softer, like he was caught in her pull but fighting to stay grounded. Clara's movements were light, unhurried, each one a step deeper into something we couldn't undo. A whisper from her how she missed him, how familiar it felt, how easy he made it. Her voice was a lure, and he was sinking. I didn't move, but I wasn't just watching anymore. My hand, still under the blanket, found the space between Ray's arm and hip, resting there, not claiming, just present. His fingers found mine again, holding on like I was the only thing keeping him from falling completely. Her breath softened. His attention wavered, and the room pulsed with a rhythm none of us named. Then we all settled. No words, no movement. Just a quiet pause between the three of us, heavy with what we'd let happen. I closed my eyes. Not from shame, but because I knew what came next, and I was ready to let it. I turned toward them, the air thick, like the room hadn't breathed in years. Clara stayed close to him, calm, quiet, her presence undeniable, a flame that didn't flicker. Ray lay still beside her, like he was afraid to move too fast and break it all. I didn't hesitate, didn't shy away. I shifted across the sheets, sliding closer until I was part of them. No space left between us. The blanket moved, but nobody reacted, like it was expected, like I'd always been meant to join. I reached for Clara first, my hand resting near hers, and she leaned in, just enough to let me know she felt it. Her eyes met mine for a moment, clear, fearless, like she saw every thought I couldn't say. Then I reached for Ray, my hand on his chest, steady, grounding, like I was claiming my place in the fire. He turned his head. Our lips brushed briefly. Not urgent, not heavy, just calm, like we'd shared this space 1,000 times before. Only now it was different. His hand slid to the back of my neck, not guiding, just holding me close, like he needed me to stay. Clara stayed beside him, her movements soft, fluid, never pulling back, making space for me instead. I leaned closer, the three of us finding a rhythm without words, without explanation. It wasn't rehearsed, but it made sense, like a puzzle we didn't know we were solving. I was between them, steady, unmoving, wrapped in their warmth, their awareness, like I'd finally found where I belonged. Clara's hand took mine, firmer, certain. The room felt smaller, softer, a quiet that didn't demand silence, just held it. No rush, no urgency, just closeness. Something built inside me, steady, not sudden, not from their touch, but from being part of it, from knowing I wasn't outside anymore. I reached for Clara, let my arm rest on Ray, no longer sure where I ended and they began. The room grew quieter, a silence heavy but not tense, full of something open, complete. I felt a shift, not loud, not dramatic, just a settling, like the world had finally stopped spinning. Surrounded by them, I felt seen, whole, like I'd stepped into a truth I hadn't known I was chasing. Sometimes the moment you feel most noticed is the one you never saw coming. It's not about control or permission, it's about being invited in and realizing you were never outside to begin with. So tell me, would you want to be there if it was you? What would you do? Drop it in the comments. I read them all, like subscribe, hit the bell. More's coming. Thanks for being here.